Hi everyone, my name's Caitlin,
Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth.
and we decided to do our research presentation on alcohol addiction. So here's just an outline of some things we're going to cover in our presentation. We're going to explore the ins and outs of alcohol addiction. We're going to introduce alcohol addiction and what it does to the human body. We're going to provide relevant data about the addiction, and we're going to provide information about the etiology of the addiction. We're also going to explore some maintenance factors and some treatment approaches that best work when treating alcohol addiction. We're also going to provide some resource lists that are good and that you can use for your clients in alcohol addiction so they have some better resources. So to start, we just have a little video that we thought would be good. It just basically gives an overview of alcohol addiction and what it does to your body. So we're going to play that right now.
85% of adults have drank alcohol in their life. It's an extremely popular drug that decreases specific neuronal excitation in your brain with biological byproducts that have a huge impact on your body. So if you're wanting to partake in a bevy, short for beverage, is there an ideal time for your physiology? Is it better to day drink or drink at night?
When you drink a shot of vodka, 20% of the alcohol is absorbed by the stomach, 80% in the small intestine, where it goes into your bloodstream, then to your liver to be metabolized. Ethanol gets into cells by passive diffusion, so the more you drink, the faster you get drunk. And when alcohol accumulates and finally gets to your brain, it suppresses the excitatory neurotransmitter glutamate, which causes information transfer in the brain to become slower with only the largest signals making it through. You feel less, perceive less, notice less, and remember less. So a check for drinking at night is that day drinking alcohol won't allow you to complete your daily tasks.
85% of adults have drank alcohol in their life. It's an extremely popular hypothesis. The only reason you're able to drink alcohol right now dates back to a gene mutation that occurred 10 million years ago in your ancestors. A monkey-looking eutherian mammal, which is the common ancestor to you and the chimpanzee, of course, had a mutation in their enzyme, alcohol dehydrogenase, which made this enzyme 40 times more effective at metabolizing alcohol. This specific mutation in the alcohol dehydrogenase meant that no longer would small amounts of alcohol be poisonous, but now could be a viable energy source. This hypothesis also recognizes that around 10 million years ago was when our common ancestors stopped living in the trees and began living on the ground. This new mutated alcohol metabolizing enzyme was beneficial as it made the copious amounts of fermenting fruit on the forest floor accessible as a new dietary niche. Essentially, mutations sound bad, but sometimes they allow us humans to get absolutely sloshed, bro. And our ancestors were likely eating these fermented fruits during the day. They were also getting lots of new energy. But while drinking alcohol may increase your caloric energy, and while day drinking, you might be like, kind of giddy, like shots on the patio energy, like, woohoo! That will quickly go away and you will become a lethargic afternoon mess, which kind of creates a check for drinking at night. Any excited extroversion you feel while drinking is due to the suppression of brain firing in the prefrontal cortex. This part of your brain controls your impulses and restrains behavior. Therefore, alcohol suppressing this inhibitory part of your brain causes you to loosen up and become a bit more extroverted. For example, once while drunk, I became very extroverted and invited everyone in my university residence into my tiny room to have a dance party. And while blasting Kesha's "This place about to blow," the floor almost caved in, the cops were called, and I was fined for having an illegal rave. Ding! But this drunk extroversion won't last long due to your liver. In your liver is where the famous enzyme alcohol dehydrogenase lives, and it breaks down the ethanol into acetaldehyde. The buildup of acetaldehyde causes incoordination, memory problems, and sleepiness. So day drinking leads to these byproducts building up in your body during the day, causing you to lose coordination, forget things, and become sedated. In fact, drinking during the day is related to higher injuries in sports, which seems a little obvious. All of this is a check for drinking at night.
Perhaps the biggest point for day drinking, or rather the point against night drinking, is that it negatively affects your sleep. Since we now know that alcohol inhibits the excitatory neurotransmitter glutamate, when alcohol leaves your system, the brain kind of overcorrects and there's a rebound of glutamate, which leads to excitability and irritation. Drinking at night means this excitable rebound happens when you're trying to sleep. This ends up dismantling your sleep through the night, cutting it up into tiny little bits and actually interrupting your sleep cycle in a way that a lot of people don't even realize is happening. But you may be saying, but alcohol helps me get to sleep. But electrical brainwaves show that sleeping while intoxicated is not natural sleep. It's more sedative, similar to anesthesia. In fact, alcohol is one of the strongest sedatives of the integral REM sleep, the type of sleep which causes dreams. When the liver metabolizes alcohol, it produces ketones and aldehydes. The aldehydes block the brainwaves needed to generate this powerful REM dream sleep, which can have astounding effects. REM sleep is so essential for a lot of functions in your body and brain, including memory and association. One study got a group of college students together.
Okay, we're gonna stop there.
Just 85% of adults have
Kate, do you mind moving the camera thing? Thank you. Okay, so for the relevant data of alcohol use disorder in the US, so alcohol use disorder, also known as AUD, has known to kill over 3 million people each year, accounting for more than 6% of the global deaths. Most American adults are known to consume alcohol at least once in their lifetime. Among them, 6.7 will develop an alcohol use disorder. So with this, most of the statistics that I found mentioned that every day, 385 Americans die as a result of excessive alcohol use. 83.9% of these deaths involve adults age 35 or older. The World Health Organization also discussed that there is an excessive alcohol use, which is basically responsible for 7.1% of the diseases among males and 2.2 among females. So, you know, issues relating death and health issues are more known to be associated with males rather than females. So ending that, it also says that Americans lose over 3.59 million years of potential life due to this excessive drinking. Next slide. Okay. So to continue the relevant data about alcohol use disorders, so this is often known as a co-occurring disorder with other mental health disorders associated either simultaneously or sequentially. The prevalence of anxiety, depression, and other psychiatric disorders is also known to be much higher among people with AUD compared to the general population. With AUD, it is known to have psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia, often co-occurring with AUD as well. That is also recognized and addressed during the AUD treatment. So we use some journal articles, some research to just feed our information. And a study by Lamia et al. 2019 discusses that the highest rate of prevalence of alcohol use and alcohol use disorders are among middle and high school students. Most commonly seen with these behaviors were, again, the males with depressive disorders. Next slide. Okay. So again, AUD is known to be a medical condition characterized by an impaired ability to stop or control alcohol use despite adverse social, occupational, or health consequences. AUD is often referred to as alcohol abuse, alcohol dependence, alcohol addiction, or alcoholism. AUD is considered a brain disorder and can be categorized as mild, moderate, or severe. This AUD is known for causing lasting changes in the brain, which can often lead individuals who have been diagnosed with alcohol use disorder to be vulnerable to relapses. Another research article that I read by McKillop and Ray, they discussed how there are a number of theoretical approaches that contribute to the etiology of alcoholism, with basically three main domains that are discussed, which is the biological determinants, psychological determinants, and the social determinants, which is basically known as the biopsychosocial of model the biopsychosocial model of addiction. So the research goes further in discussing that neurobiological and genetic models that contribute to addiction are also known. Um, so they're also known for having an influence on like the social and societal influences of the individual. So it basically has a general effect on the individual's life. Okay, etiology of alcohol addiction. So alcohol consumption, primarily heavy drinking, is known for being the cause of many health problems and a major contributor to medical disease. Alcohol is a necessary underlying cause for more than 30 conditions, and it contributes to many other factors. So the most common diseases that are included with AUD is cancer, diabetes, neuropsychiatric diseases, which include alcohol use disorders, cardiovascular diseases, liver and pancreas disease, and unintentional and intentional injury. So, although there's not an estimate reason or research discussing why, like what the exact cause of AUD is, there are several factors that are believed to contribute to the development of AUD. So these factors can include home environment, peer interactions, and even genetic predispositions.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the maintenance factors of addiction. So some of the factors, like Liz mentioned before, that can influence an individual's risk for alcohol addiction can be family history, so genetics, your gender can even have an effect on that, mental health disorders. So if you have depression or anxiety, a lot of times it can lead to a substance abuse disorder. And age, they're all a factor in one having a risk of developing alcohol addiction. Children of alcoholics, so this ties into the family history and genetics again, are approximately about 4 times as likely to have an alcohol addiction than children who do not have parents who have struggled with alcohol addiction. So just some data from the National Epidemiologic Survey on Alcohol-Related Conditions. It shows that among individuals with alcohol addiction, about 15.15% and 17.75% have a depressive disorder or anxiety disorder. So again, tying into the mental health disorders, like I said, if you have depressive or anxiety disorders, you are 20 times more likely to have a personality disorder and an alcohol addiction as well. So mental health and substance abuse disorders kind of work hand in hand and are comorbid to each other. Some best treatment approaches. One of the best treatment approaches in substance abuse disorder and alcohol addiction is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So also 12-step programs such as NA or AA is very good. Psychosocial interventions, even family and group therapies are really good. It's really important to bring families into the individual's treatment plan because a lot of times they're their only support system or they're the ones who don't understand the addiction. So it's good to bring them in and help them kind of understand the disease as well. Psychosocial interventions, they're aimed at causing change in the client's alcohol use behaviors, and they also focus on factors such as cognition and emotion. And the main goal of this approach is to lead to a reduction of or abstinence from alcohol and having the individual be able to improve their function from a bunch of different factors and ranges in their life, such as physical, psychological, their physical health as well, like I said, and their interpersonal relationships. So, like I said before, CBT is one of the best treatment approaches. So cognitive behavioral therapy is just based on a bunch of learning principles, and they theorize the behavior being influenced by cognitive processes. So a standard CBT approach is time limited, it's structured, it's derived from a cognitive model of drug misuse, and there is a big emphasis on identifying and modifying the individual's irrational thoughts and managing their negative moods, so that it can prevent a relapse and kind of, perpetuate a recovery. Like I said before, 12-step groups are a really good approach to alcohol addiction. NA, AA meetings are really important because they help the individual get support. It's really important for individuals struggling with substance abuse to not to know that they are not the only ones struggling. It kind of diminishes that shame and guilt that they feel. So going to 12-step groups such as NA or just group therapy in general can be really good, and it can help the individual get support systems from individuals who understand the disease and what they're going through. And it can help relapse and give the individuals coping mechanisms to deal with their triggers outside of the group. So these are just some barriers that I found to treatment approaches. Some barriers to finding addiction treatment may vary by different individual situations, but some of the most common barriers are just financial problems and the cost of treatment being very expensive. Also, your geographic location. So in some places, which I'll go to in a minute, have more facilities and some have a lot less. So it's harder to get treatment. Also, the stigma of going to treatment. One of the biggest things in recovery is denial. So if an individual is still in denial and they don't think they have a problem, they're not going to go to treatment because of that negative stigma surrounding going to treatment. Also co-occurring disorder treatment availability. So a lot of times you can have an individual go to substance abuse treatment, but if they have a depressive disorder or an anxiety disorder, most likely they're going to relapse if that other disorder is not addressed as well. So like I said before about your location, so as you see here, like places like California, they have about 2,350 treatment facilities, and this is in the year 2020, so by now they probably have a lot more. In comparison to Montana, which only had 162 facilities. So you can see how the treatment is very limited in certain areas and very accessible in others. So this is our first resource list. We just wanted to provide a resource list because if you're planning on working with someone with alcohol addiction, these are just some resources that you can provide to them to better help their treatment. These are medical and non-medical treatment resources. So things like the American Academy of Addiction Psychiatry, which is really good if someone has that depressive or anxiety disorder and you can kind of address both in one. Again, with the American Psychological Association, the American Society of Addiction Medicine, the NAADAC, the Association for Addiction Professionals, and the National Association for Social Workers. So you can write down any of these resources and give them out if you need.
Okay, so we also have a secondary list for treatment facilities. So the first one is substance use treatment facility locator. So you can use this phone number to check out treatment facilities in your area. The second one, mutual support groups, Alcoholics Anonymous, which is AA. We also have moderation management, secular AA, which is basically a calendar of the worldwide secular meetings for AA meetings. And then we have Smart Recovery and their phone number there.
Here we just have another resource list. This is more for family and friends. So AL Anon family groups. So again, this is good if you want to have your family involved in your treatment, or if the family wants to be involved and wants to make the first step. Adult children of alcoholics. And these are some information resources if you want to know more about the addiction. The National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, National Institute on Drug Abuse, and National Institute of Mental Health.
Okay, and for our handouts, we gathered 2 different research articles that we found interesting about alcohol addiction. The first one is Alcohol Addiction, which brings many health problems. It just talks about the health effects of alcohol use disorders. And then the second one, we have the cycle of alcohol addiction, just basically how addiction basically develops in our brain. Just to gather a little bit more, just to gather some more information if you're interested in reading more about AUD.
And this is our reference list. And thank you so much.
Thank you.